if you believe that each person's life is a microcosm of some larger pattern, in other words, the fractal faith, what is exists as above, so below, a pattern here will have a resonance on a larger level, then why not believe that human history is like a stage in the gestation of this informational, syntactical species that is of some different order of magnitude than everything else going on this planet. I mean, we don't know what it's like to be part of a pheromone-regulated termite hive of millions of individuals, but we do know that the modalities that we create, you see, that's epigenetic communication. Pheromones, it's genetically based, but then locally variant. But our proclivity for this kind of thing, for the taking of raw matter and alchemically uniting it with ideas, with forms, these mysterious, invisible things impinging into our slice of time and space from some higher dimension, we take these intimations of eternity and unite them with matter and create these things which are made of meaning and of matter, of light and of intentionality. And this tool-making process, which then has all kinds of consequences rippling through the world of cultural effects, becomes the kind of continuing carrot for our appetition for future time. And, as I said, lying at the end of this is the tool which, when correctly perceived, is seen to be the self. You know, Carlos Castaneda, bless his heart, says you meet your double coming from another dimension. Well, the Mandayans had this same idea. They had this idea of this place called Misunya Kashta, which was the world of the light double. And at death, you approached the boundary condition, the edge of the attractor's domain, and entered into the turbulence, what I've called, in talking about psychedelic experiences, the billows, where you meet the incoming billows, this highly chaotic state that precedes the organized entry into the other. You know, Plato said, time is the moving image of eternity. This was one of his little aphorisms. And I sort of think of that in terms of this, that from a higher dimension, which is sort of what we're trying to do in this week, is actually very crudely visualize our own lives and history from a higher dimension. From a higher dimension, it's all not completed, because that brings up the determinism, but the plan is somehow all visible from this higher dimension. You can think of the plan as a black and white diagram, and the completed part of the plan as color moving through the black and white. So when you're in hyperspace looking at eternity, you see the present is the place where the color is moving into the black and white. Yes, Thomas Aquinas had this notion of what he called the nunc stans, the standing now, and it was caused by the past and the future interfering with each other and causing the present. So do you know the philosophy of Leibniz, which is this philosophy of what he calls monads, which are tiny, tiny versions of the universe, each one complete within themselves, and they fill the universe in all directions. It's what's called a plenum. And I can imagine that each one of them might be a bound energy state described by this. So then you have this situation where it is complete at all points. It is somehow finalized, and yet there is the paradox of becoming. And perception of time is driven by the organism. I mean, it is somehow a molecular phenomenon amplified and transduced through these enormous meaty bodies, but it's something that is happening because we're alive. Chairs do not, I think, experience time. And the funny thing about us, this is perhaps worth pursuing, when you cut into a chair, it doesn't change. When you cut into a living organism, you discover that everything is in cyclical movement. The essence of being an organism seems to be that a flow of energy is trapped in a form in a way that is not happening with a chair or a tennis ball or a stone. The metabolism is this mysterious process by which low-grade material, carbohydrates, sugars, and so forth, are taken inside the system, and an alchemical process of transduction then raises the level of complexity of this system, and physiological functions can be fueled out of the chemical cascades that are then created when these complex molecules that have been lifted to the top of this energy cycle are released and allowed to degrade, and then you get energy, the energy to move your body, to think and to feel. But the sensation of time is entirely rooted to the sensation of being alive and of being an organism.